Hello and welcome. I'm Bimbo Oluyede. Tonight, 750 megawatts power plant comes on stream in Ogun State as President Jonathan outlines efforts towards stable electricity supply in Nigeria. A group of Yoruba elders seeks implementation of National Conference report, backs re-election of President Jonathan. Ekiti chapter of the APC petitions Human Rights Commission over electoral violence in the state, wants prosecution of culprits. And at least 20 people, including senior government officials, die as Al-Shabaab attacks hotel in the Somali capital, Mogadishu.
On business news, Central Bank of Nigeria announces plans to ban earning export-based account holders from foreign exchange market.
While on sports news, Nigeria begins its quest for a place at the 2015 All-Africa Games with a tricky encounter against Gabon in Libreville.
We begin tonight in Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, where the president has been speaking on what his administration has been doing to transform the power sector in Nigeria. During the commissioning of a newly built 750 megawatts power plant located at Olorunshogo, the president said this project, which forms part of the National Integrated Power Project, is a testament to the success of the reforms in the sector. The power plant, which is the second phase of the Olorunshogo plant, is part of the National Integrated Power Project being handled by the three tiers of government.
These are no 3D pictures or prototype of any conception, but real pictures of advancement in power generation. It's the Olorunshogo 750 megawatts power plant, built, completed, and ready to be commissioned by Mr. President. But first, let's hear more about the plant and other integrated processes.
Power generation in the country today has improved tremendously, with NIPP power stations playing an increasingly significant role in adding to the generation mix to Nigerians. Actual and available generation capacity has consistently hovered around 5,000 megawatts, with NIPP contribution rising daily as more units are synchronized into the grid system.
It is instructive to know that this power station, like indeed all the other 9, have been privatized through the very transparent and successful 80% share sale bid process, which was carried out last year. This process initiated the expanded engagement of the private sector in the operations and management of our power assets. The proceeds realized from the privatization process will be reinvested to further strengthen the national transmission grid.
Olorunshogo Station is one of the 10 NIPP projects jointly funded by the federal, state, and local government. Investment so far on this stands at $650 million and $8.26 billion so far on other entire integrated plants.
People thought we were going to collapse, and we succeeded. South Africa is now copying us. We are now a model to Africa. So what is the reform is working when other people out of the country are coming to copy what we are doing.
6,000 is what we think we can do by the end of the year. But then remember that our target of 20,000 megawatts by 2020 is still on course.
The challenge we seem to have is that of gas. There are two things about gas. One is the adequate quantity of gas being produced. Then two is as a secondary effect of people trying to steal crude, vandalizing pipeline to steal crude. Sometimes affect the gas pipelines.
Save for pipeline vandalism, these 4 gas units, 2 steam turbine station is up and running and is ready to evacuate power easily through the transmission line. In sight as a quick win is the boost to commercial and industrial activity in the southwest region. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
A pan-Yoruba political group, Afenifere, has called on the government to implement the recommendation of the 2014 National Conference as they relate to the interest of the Yoruba nation. That is the crux of the summit convened by the Edo State Governor, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko. The session is holding in Akure, the Edo State capital.
The summit has the theme, the National Conference, the 2015 elections, and the Yoruba nation. And the political leaders at the summit include Governor Olusegun Mimiko of Edo State, Afenifere leader Chief Ayo Adebanjo, Chief Femi Okunomu, Minister of State for Works Dayo Adeyeye, founder of the Oodua People's Congress OPC, Dr. Frederick Fashehun, OPC leader Chief Gani Adams. Edo State Governor Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, who is the convener of the summit, emphasized the benefits of the recommendations of the report of the 2014 National Conference, and he informs the group of the essence of the summit.
Specifically, we want to x-ray the gains of the Yoruba nation from the 2014 National Conference and design framework for implementation of the conference recommendation with an eye on Yoruba interests. The decisions reached today will no doubt go a long way in showing our people the platform and individuals that can ensure the implementation of the conference recommendation.
Goodwill messages came from some Yoruba leaders present, including Dr. Frederick Fashehun and Chief Gani Adams.
Without standing on rooftops to declare what we have been doing or what we have failed to do, the Yoruba people have been living like a junkie.
Our major responsibility is to sensitize Nigeria, the benefits and the candidates that will implement the outcome of the National Conference.
At the end of the summit, the chairman, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, read the 9-point communique, with the major points being the declaration of support for the second-term bid of President Goodluck Jonathan.
We resolve, therefore, to fully back and work for the re-election of President Goodluck Jonathan in the presidential election, as only this could guarantee the implementation of the confirmed recommendation.
The Yoruba nation, represented by this group of leaders, think throwing their weight behind the president will be more beneficial to the Yorubas, but how this will be translated into votes in the 2015 elections remain to be seen.
The All Progressive Congress in Edo State has filed a petition against the state government at the National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, over the allegation of state-sponsored pre-election violence in the state. In the petition, the state chapter of the APC, led by its secretary, Mr. Omotosho Ayodele, accused the state government of violent attacks against its members. The party is asking the NHRC to investigate and prosecute the perpetrators of electoral violence both in Ekiti State and across the country.
It's been a season of accusations and counter-accusations by politicians claiming violent attacks on their supporters. The latest accusation is coming from the All Progressives Congress in Ekiti State, alleging state-sponsored pre-election violence in the state.
The person who is expected to be the chief security officer of Ekiti State, that is to say the governor of the state, is the major perpetrator of problems in the state. And APC, with its members, are victims and targets every day. We have a lot of cases that we have reported to the police, but to our utmost surprise, we are yet to get justice.
The Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission criticized politicians who engage in electoral violence and human rights violations, saying there will be no hiding place for anyone who violates the rights of other Nigerians.
The Commission is saddened that we are having these allegations, and will be the most saddened if it turns out that these allegations are untrue and are being made against a personality of this nature. By the mandate of this institution that has today become the custodian, of the revolt and the fundamentally guaranteed rights, liberties, and freedoms of the Nigerian people, we would ensure, and we are committed to ensuring, that where impunity rears its head, we will bring to an end such impunity or culture of impunity.
The Commission promised to invoke its powers to prosecute human rights violators and politicians who engage in electoral violence during and after the elections.
Meanwhile, the governor of Ekiti State, Mr. Ayodele Fayose, has been reacting to the allegation and petition against him by the APC in the state regarding violence in the state. Mr. Fayose, through his special assistant on public communications and new media, Mr. Leri Olayinka, says the allegation is a blatant lie and says there is no violence in Ekiti State. He says at best, violence only resides in the minds of APC and its leaders because they spent 4 years unleashing terror on Ekiti people. Mr. Olayinka says some leaders and members of the APC are wanted in the state for murder, and he's asking them to surrender themselves for trial. Well, the senator representing Kwara Central at the National Assembly, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has called on the leadership of the National Assembly to ensure that democracy is not truncated with the postponement of the general elections. He stated this while addressing journalists after a closed-door meeting with members of the All Progressive Congress in Kwara State. The APC leader noted that the country could not afford a constitutional crisis as a result of the shift in election dates and urged the National Assembly leadership to provide a means of stabilizing democracy.
Responsible as leaders, and some of us who are in the National Assembly to be looking ahead, because you've asked a very pertinent question. If you could not provide security in 6 years, why will you do it in 6 weeks? Well, the NSA has come to say that we should be not worry, there will be no postponement to Nigerians. Even in the event of that, that is why I say that the National Assembly should look at the Constitution and the provisions that will ensure a smooth transition in a democratic process that will ensure election come if, as you rightly say, something happens along the way and they cannot meet those days. But they are telling us they can't meet those days. We have to take them for their words for now, but also have backup positions that will ensure stability of our democracy and of our country. The last thing we want now is a constitutional crisis or anything that will truncate our democracy. And I think all of us, whatever party, wherever party we belong to, whether we are politicians or non-politicians, we must have a common position that we all must defend our democracy and we must ensure that that stability is there.
In part 2, after the break, judiciary workers in Bayelsa State suspend industrial action. Please stay with us.